Two teams with the richest traditions in the SEC square off in semifinal Saturday. Hogs heads are alive and well in Nashville, Tennessee, as they call "Oh, Pig Suey." And the third member of our broadcast team is ready to go. As you look at our series record, Wildcats lead the series 14-7, particularly in tournament play. They have dominated Arkansas, but the Razorbacks, the defending SEC tournament champion. Let's get to the third member of our broadcast team, Dave Baker. Dave?
Tim, the Kentucky coaches believe they've got to stop Arkansas from getting easy shots today. When the Hogs won down in Fayetteville, they were able to penetrate the middle and pitch. Kentucky says that they can't let Arkansas do that today. On the other side, the Razorbacks believe they have to make easy shots to get into the press. How much of a factor will fatigue be? We'll have to see. Razorbacks didn't get in bed this morning till almost 1:30 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, they should send a thank you card to John Brady. Brady Gibson gets the first deuce. LSU gave Arkansas much more of a show than they had expected.
And why does Blake Edens get the surprise start today? Off to an assist here on the opening play, the jump ball play. The young man from Montgomery, Alabama, with a nice assist.
Bogan's working on Edens on the low block, no double team.
That's a mismatch right there. Bogan's too physical for Blake Edens. We'll have to watch that.
Oh, what an acrobatic maneuver just to save it by Satchel, but he can't finish it. Don't blink. Bogan's in the air. A little bit of no man's land there. He put Fitch in a bad spot. He knows it, and it's a turnover.
Yeah, anytime you leave your feet with that basketball, you better know what you're going to do. Either shoot it or pass it. When you get up there and are indecisive, that's when the turnovers come. Both teams start man-to-man. And both teams size-wise match up well. We've got Prince on Joe Johnson. Great matchup with the two All-American candidates.
Mano a mano there. And Johnson will draw Prince on the other end most of the afternoon. Dean falling away. Well, this is his stage. Last year's tournament MVP, Brandon Dean.
And this style will suit him because it'll be a full court game. Kentucky wants to run and press. Arkansas may do it as well as any team in the country.
Bogan sees a lane. Dean knocks it out of there. Here's Prince for three. Bogan's on the glass. Has it swatted away and is fouled. Larry Satchel picks up his first.
Well, you talked about Brandon Dean, Timmy. He loves the SEC stage, the MVP a year ago. Watch him just off the dribble. The strength to rise up over Saul Smith and knock down that medium-range jump shot.
Brandon Dean, one of the Louisianians on this team, Ouachita Parish High School in Monroe, and very explosive first step. And he, like Johnson, really got in step in late February. Bogan's at a career high, 29 last Sunday at Florida, 23 yesterday against South Carolina. Johnson end to end. Well, the preseason player of the year got the better of the regular season player of the year. Just beat Prince to the goal.
There are a lot of great finishers in the SEC, guys that can take it to the goal and make the shot. Joe Johnson, maybe the least athletic of that bunch, but probably the smartest in knowing how to get to the rim and use his body to make the basket.
I talked to Brad Dunn before the game, the able assistant. You see Satchel going into press row over there in front of the scorer's table. I asked Brad Dunn, I said, was that the best performance for Joe Johnson last night? And he said, yes, that was clearly the best performance that Joe Johnson's had all year. Well, they got our Jefferson Pilot sports sign down, and
we got to get that back up.
Dr. Pepper
signage is everything.
Dr. Pepper never looked so bad.
That's right. That signage is in the contract for Dr. Pepper. Got to get it up.
Parker in the middle, and a reach-in foul spotted. That will go against Blake Edens.
You know, Timmy, I talked to Mike Anderson, the other assistant, during the first semifinal game today about Joe Johnson, and asked him, is he as laid back and passive in person as he appears on the floor? And he said, most definitely, that's just his nature, but he's getting more aggressive with age.
Dean and Smith. It'll go back the other way. I think we have a foul on Saul Smith. Tom Lopes has it. He had the call rather than John Clougherty.
I tell you,
Tubby Smith doesn't like it at all.
Yeah, Tubby, I tell you, if it had gone the other way, Nolan wouldn't have liked it because this could have gone either way. Two guys clearly got to the ball at the same time. You see the shove a little bit by Saul Smith there. That was the call. Nolan happy, Tubby not.
Well, remember, it's all about creating an advantage. And in Tom Lopes' mind, what happened there, Saul Smith took away an advantage to the ball and angle to the ball that Brandon Dean had.
Well, that's always the call, advantage, disadvantage. Brandon Dean may have gotten there just a split second before Saul Smith.
Well, it's one of those situations where if the whistle doesn't blow twice, the coach probably doesn't get up.
Exactly. The intensity level here, you could just cut it with a knife. The fans are into this game. Two storied basketball programs with a lot of interest from their fans.
Fitch. Well, we saw, obviously, in Justin Reed in the first semifinal game, the best freshman in this league. But you talk about influence from a freshman. Gerald Fitch has been that for Kentucky this year.
Well, when they inserted him into the lineup back on December 22nd at Indiana, as you see the foul there, Gerald Fitch really helped Kentucky take control and go on an 8-game win streak. He's a freshman out of Macon, Georgia.
Well, like yesterday, Satchel picks up 2 very quick fouls. And as you recall, last night they needed a bit more of that depth than they had anticipated. Tied at 6.
Arkansas does not need Satchel on the bench. And Timmy, you mentioned the 2 quick fouls. He got in foul trouble last night. That's been a problem for him. They need his presence inside. He's a great shot blocker.
Edens, not this time. Tayshaun Prince, the rebound for Kentucky.
The point forward, rebound the defensive board and puts it on the break and throw the assist to the big freshman Jason Parker.
Hard for Arkansas to match up with that when Prince is handling out front.
No question. You create the high-low, and it's 6'9". You can see over the defense down into the low post, and that gave Jason Parker the easy layup opportunity. Kentucky pressed on the made basket. 2-2-1.
Gibson, great ball fake. Edens likes the wing jumper, but did not get set. Turned it down. Johnson, a pull-up. Lane. Alonzo Lane, that's where he gets his offense, off the offensive putbacks.
Jason Parker that time went to help on the shooter, Joe Johnson, and he left Alonzo Lane wide open for the offensive board. Look at the high-low. Tayshaun Prince, the great feed at 6'9" to Jason Parker down low. You see it from up top at 6'9". See how he can see over that defense? That's what gives him the good vision to find his partner and throw it away from the defense for the easy layup.
Tied at 8. Just over 3.5 minutes gone here in Nashville. Southeastern Conference semifinal. Who will play Ole Miss in the championship game? Prince. Loose ball, he stays with it. And is fouled going back up. 3 rebounds already for Tayshaun. And the foul goes against Blake Edens. And that's his second.
You know, they talk a lot about Tayshaun Prince and his toughness, or maybe his lack of. That's the question mark about him. He has a slender frame, not physically strong, but he kills you with finesse and with smarts. The last 6 road games that Kentucky has played, Tayshaun Prince has averaged 24 points a game, but in that stretch, the lowest total he had was at Arkansas with 14. So we'll see if he can step up today against the Razorbacks. Their quickness has a tendency to bother him.
Well, I think that the stereotype of Prince's smooth style sometimes questions intensity. I think that ended when his dad came to see him play for the first time in their home win against Tennessee. At that time, of course, Tennessee was in the top 5 in the country. Bogans guaranteed a victory, you might recall. Both Bogans and Prince came of age as leaders of this team after that game. That was the first time Tayshaun's dad had ever seen him, and he drove all the way from California to see the game. Brandon Dean hits the tray, and it's 11-10 Razorbacks.
If Brandon Dean shoots well for Arkansas, look out. He has been a streaky shooter. He's 2 for 3 already in the ball game, and if he can make shots, that is a bonus for Nolan Richardson's offense.
Bogan sees the baseline. Well, they collapsed on him. There's Parker. Well, look at the strength, the brute strength of Parker, but he loses it on the way up. On the run out, Dean. Good work defensively by Fitch. What a recovery. Reset the clock off the kick, so there'll be a fresh 35.
I got to catch my breath, Timmy. Arkansas will switch all screens.
Smith not there.
And there's an example. Tayshaun Prince on the screen, and Saul Smith got the jump shot opportunity from the top, but Joe Johnson switched that screen and came up at 6'7", 6'8", and contested against the 6'2" Saul Smith. That makes it a tough shot. Kentucky zoning now. It's a matchup.
Oh, well, Johnson can bring you out of it because he has the in-between game, Joe. You know, a lot of guys, it's a lost art in the modern day era. This guy can hit runners. He can pull up, hit the 10 to 12 footer. He's got it all.
Yeah, he really does at 6'8". When he gets to the lane, he's so big and has such great touch. He can get it over the defense and has good touch right around that rim.
And Prince is there to answer.
Now the two marquee players stepping up in the big game here. Prince with a great shot and confidence, playing tremendous down the stretch, earned him the SEC Player of the Year award.
4 lead changes, 5 ties already in this game. Only 6 minutes deep. Gibson. Now we saw in the first game in Ole Miss and Florida, we saw a game of runs. Ultimately, Ole Miss, with the final push, won the game and made their way into the SEC Tournament Championship game. Bogans.
And there's where the switch hurt Arkansas. They're switching the screens away from the ball, and Bogans got free because his man left him to go help. Wide open layup. Good recognition by Kentucky.
Both benches now beginning to empty. And of course, both teams can go very deep into their bench. Arkansas perhaps a bit deeper.
Kentucky wanting to slow Arkansas down and make them defensively.
Baker not there. Johnson the follow. Stays with it. Quick off his feet. Joe Johnson. 6 in the game for him and a 2-point.
And that's a big-time play on the offensive glass. Just played a little volleyball with it, stayed after it, and got it in.
Bogans with the dump down to Parker. He's got all the moves down there. Threw that one up a bit from the hip, rushed it, and Teddy Gibson brings it out.
Alonzo Lane hustled nicely that time to get in position to deflect that shot.
Gibson off the feed from Dean. The Louisiana connection. Monroe to Farmerville. 20 to 15. Gibson hasn't missed. He's 3 out of 3. Prince. Good defensive help that time. Alonzo Lane, that's one of his specialties. Got in position, and Prince picks up the player control foul.
Teddy Gibson, a nice job of sliding in from the help side and drawing that charge. You see David Hobbs, the former Alabama head coach, talking to Tubby Smith on the sideline. Tayshaun Prince is going to have to be careful right there on the drive. Again, when you see that help coming, got to look to kick it to an open teammate.
Arkansas has not turned it over yet. The Big Blue have turned it over 3 times.
Arkansas forced 21 turnovers against LSU last night. The defensive intensity was as tough as I think I've seen all year by Arkansas last night.
And it was a must. Without it, they're not playing today. Prince, great work. Defensive work underneath. And Cliff Hawkins, the outstanding young star that many believe is the heir apparent to Saul Smith, inside the Stone.
Cliff Hawkins got trapped and had the vision to see through the trap and find Stone open right in the middle of the floor. That's an excellent job by the point guard, Cliff Hawkins.
He really brings back memories of Wayne Turner to a lot of the Big Blue faithful. I can understand why. After having seen him play, outstanding on the defensive end, really creates havoc.
Quick hands.
Oak Hill Academy, well tutored there. And getting more minutes as the season wears on. Cleveland. Out of bounds, it belongs to the Razorbacks. Not quite 9 minutes deep. Tubby Smith giving Tom Lopes an earful. And Joe Johnson giving the basket his own brand of full. Look out. 20-17, Razorbacks lead it by 3.
Kentucky stays in that zone. They're packing in around that lane, want to get Arkansas to shoot over the top. Kentucky, as we mentioned, dominated the boards in the earlier meeting with Arkansas, 52-37.
Argo fouled by Daniels, and a cardinal sin, and no one wants to hear cardinal in Kentucky these days. Committed that time by Eric Daniels, the freshman from Cincinnati.
Eric Daniels is an outstanding young player, but Tubby Smith knows that he's got to learn not to make mistakes like that. Fouling a shooter from three-point range is a big-time no-no.
Since we raised the issue of Cardinal, that's been obviously a major story. I'll be working with Rick Pitino next week. You know, Rick had a chance to visit with Tubby Smith in Gainesville last Sunday. He had come to the Florida-Kentucky game. And it's interesting because Tubby Smith has gone on record, Joe, as saying that in some respects it would be healthy for Pitino to coach at Louisville. And, you know, there are a number of reasons, in my opinion, why it does ease some of the tension on Tubby if Rick indeed does take the job at Louisville.
Well, it clearly puts Tubby as the head of the Kentucky program. No more, you know, could Rick come back, that type of thing, which they had to deal with during the course of the season after he left the Boston Celtics.
Well, the Big Blue faithful would no longer make those comparisons.
Exactly.
You're right.
And shouldn't. Tubby Smith is one of the top coaches in the country.
And Hawkins takes it inside to draw the contact from Baker.
Arkansas put LSU on the foul line last night 41 times. Their tenacious defense was evident, but the hand check calls were in effect all night last night.
Bogans got Baker airborne as well as Alonzo Lane.
6 players last night for Arkansas actually had 4 fouls when the game ended. And you see it right now. They're getting Kentucky to that foul line. Bogans, with great strength for a 6'4" guard, muscled up that shot.
It's amazing to think that Arkansas has not turned it over as yet. This game has been played very quickly because of that. Bogans needs to get to the line, and certainly you'd feel that Kentucky could bring, just athletically, they're more of a half-court defensive basketball team, Joe, but generally speaking, you're going to create turnovers off that, and Arkansas is really protecting the ball.
Doing an excellent job. Again, Arkansas, the quicker of the two teams. Kentucky probably the better inside and the better rebounding of the two teams. First turnover for Arkansas. You see the full court pressure. Cleveland and Hawkins. Great strip.
To Davis. And he's fouled by Hawkins. That's all Cliff could do. I'll tell you, that was a clean pick.
Well, TJ Cleveland is a great floor leader for Arkansas. Does so many things. He's one of the steals leaders in the SEC. You see him just reach out on the crossover, find Davis on the 2-on-1, and the lone senior for the Razorbacks gets to the foul line. That's the one thing, Tim, about these two teams. Both only have one senior on their squad. That man right there, Brandon Davis, and of course Saul Smith for Kentucky.
When you talk about a steal from a guy like Hawkins, Hawkins is a great ball handler.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of his specialties. And TJ took him to school. 24-18. Reached the halfway mark of the opening half. Hawkins dogged. On the deck. Hargo gets a piece of it. And here come the Razorbacks, and we've got a double technical.
Intentional foul right there.
Intentional foul, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
It's intentional, not a double technical. Just intentional against Hawkins.
Yes.
He reached up and actually grabbed Cleveland after he had been on the deck when the ball was going the other way.
Hawkins was struggling with the right-hand dribble, and as he tries to get up, he just grabbed TJ Cleveland's foot. And that was the call.
And Tubby Smith with a very pensive look over that. And Hawkins is in a position, I think he was just trying to save an easy bucket, but that was more of a foul of frustration.
No question. He turned the ball over to Cleveland the play before and then got hung up on the right-hand dribble as he came across half court. Cleveland putting the great pressure on. And as the ball went the other way, Hawkins, in frustration, just grabbed Cleveland's foot. Tom Lopes, the official, was right on the call.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why critics of Saul Smith, you know, you talk about that kind of frustration. He's still a young player. You know, the critics of Saul Smith need to be silenced, because those kinds of fouls are freshman fouls. This is his first SEC tournament for Cliff Hawkins. As good as he is, wisdom will come for that young man in time.
Well, the people that have criticized Saul Smith don't know much about basketball, because Saul Smith is one of the guttiest, toughest players in this league. Defends, handles the ball, runs the offense, and will make open shots.
And is more tolerant than most grown men. Bogans, look at that tough drive to the basket. Stone can't handle the pass.
Hands of Stone right there. Bogans with the good look, maybe a little bit too crisp. Marvin Stone out of Huntsville Grissom High School couldn't make the play.
He runs the floor well. That's perhaps his greatest asset as a big man.
He's not real athletic as a 6'9" player, Marvin Stone. More of a finesse player. Passes well, smart, knows how to play, was well coached in high school by Ronnie Stapler, who's here today to watch his protege.
Lane, good find to Cleveland. Off the front iron, Lane trying to run it down. Out of bounds again. His hustle play allows Arkansas another attempt.
Alonzo Lane must step up big with Larry Satchel on the bench. Had a good freshman season a year ago. He's a bull. They call him Shaq. 6'5", about 240 pounds of pure muscle.
Baker over Stone. Tayshaun Prince rips it down. 5 boards for Tayshaun. Smith. Again, the quick hands of TJ Cleveland. And the quickness advantage has been in evidence of late. Now Parker comes back into the game for Prince, so Kentucky gets big. One of the reasons why Stone plays more in the second half than Parker is Jason's only problem has been free throw shooting.
Right.
He's a liability late in games because of that, as a sub 40% free throw shooter. Hogan's the jump stop, finds Smith. A leaner. Kept alive by Pargo out to Cleveland. What a tap. And the defensive work by Smith saved a bucket.
Great recovery there by Saul Smith. And smart to get the ball and not create the foul.
The scramble game is on, and a travel, the end result.
Yeah, what happens here in the ball game when you play Arkansas? They're so active and tenacious on the ball with their traps and physical play that it forces you to speed up. And that's what's happened to Bogans. He gets over anxious and speeds up. John Brady last night said several times to his team, slow down. And that's what, right there, as you see the turnovers, Kentucky was 7. That's what Tubby Smith is telling his team right now. Be poised against the pressure. That's the key.
Johnson working on Stone. Loves that matchup, but there's help as he drives the baseline. Pargo gets the loose ball. Stone finally corrals it.
Pargo leaning back on the three-point shot. Not well balanced right there.
Stone to Parker. Nice high-low game there. And the foul inside. Goes against TJ Cleveland.
Well, you just saw right there the assets that Marvin Stone brings to the Kentucky offense. He's a 6'10" player that can pass the ball really well. And as we talked about with Prince, when you're tall and you have good passing skills, you can see over the defense. The vision allows you to make the passes around the goal and get your teammates like Jason Parker to the foul line.
Well, we talked about his difficulty at the free throw line. And he still needs to work on that aspect of his game.
That might be the understatement.
I'm not known for many of those. I guess you're right. 8-point game. Tatum is on the floor now with Brandon Dean, Joe Johnson, Carl Baker, and Gennaro Pargo. Pargo works on Daniels. Tatum for 3.
And the penetration that Tubby Smith talked about not wanting to allow happen. Pargo gets to the lane, kicks it out, and the three-point shot by Tatum.
Foul will go against Tatum. 29, 18, and 11-point game. This is now a 14-3 run for the Razorbacks with 7:22 remaining in a quickly played opening half.
Now there's the penetration, the inside-out pass. Tatum, outstanding three-point shooter for Arkansas. Gives them that 11-point lead, and then the foul on the press. I asked Mike Anderson during the Ole Miss Florida semifinal, if they worried about fouling too much, again, sending LSU to the line 41 times, he said, we don't worry about anything but playing aggressive. And they figure we'll give up some fouls to create turnovers and havoc on defense.
Joe Johnson off the Smith miss, pushing it very quickly. Fargo off the bounce. Stone clears for Kentucky.
Fargo leaning back again on the jump shot off the dribble. That's not his rhythm. There's the trap on the on-ball screen.
There should be an easy opportunity down low, but again, Tatum slaps it away. Fargo. Brandon Dean, you talk about quicker than a hiccup. He finds Tatum, and there's the bump by Fitch.
Well, Tatum made the three-point shot the play before, and Fitch tried to get to him quickly to shut down the three, but again, too tough, bumped him, and got the foul.
Only 13 field goal attempts for the Wildcats to 25 for Arkansas. Shots on goal, Arkansas the advantage, and the frustration building for the Big Blue.
The Arkansas Razorbacks lead the Kentucky Wildcats by 10 in the semifinals of the SEC tournament in Nashville. And Joe Johnson is leading the way. Handles it like a point guard, takes it all the way to the rim for the layup against Tayshaun. And watch him on the offensive glass. He tips it, stays after it at 6'8". He can finish around bigger players. And the leaning jumper, a slasher, Joe Johnson, who hit 4 out of 6 threes last night against LSU. Clearly an All-American candidate. As you see his numbers, 6 points and 4 rebounds today. Kentucky, Timmy, with only 1 field goal attempt in the last 4 minutes and 26 seconds. I would say Arkansas's defensive pressure is taking its toll.
I mean, that is an amazing stat for a Kentucky basketball team not to get more than 1 shot in roughly 4.5 minutes.
And it speaks volumes about the Arkansas defensive pressure.
On the glass, the loose ball to Johnson again. Finally, Fargo winds up with him. Again, you see the quickness to the ball advantage.
You read my mind. Arkansas is just clearly a quicker basketball team today than is Kentucky.
Fargo gets the baseline.
Kentucky just can't give up that kind of penetration. Fargo just dribbled right around Saul Smith. Saul got hit on the move.
Right in the...
Watch the penetration here. Yeah, there's the charge against Saul Smith.
He took that one right in the chest.
And we talked about his toughness. His mom, Donna, I don't believe she liked that call.
You talk about an active basketball family. She said, I can't believe that. Did you see that?
Read her lips, yeah. Tubby said the same.
Same thing. Well, they're on the same page as usual. Gigi, of course, is down at the end of the bench. Gigi, who played at Georgia, coached in high school last year after leaving Georgia. Gigi Smith, Orlando Tubby Smith's son, who did so well for him, taking the Bulldogs into the NCAA tournament for a couple of years. Then had to deal with his coach leaving and having to play against his brother. Fitch. Tatum again along with Baker. And you hear the sarcastic applause from the crowd as well as Tubby Smith.
Well, Tayshaun Prince made that play because Arkansas ran the scramble trap at half court, and at 6'9", again, he threw over the top to Fitch, who drove it to the basket 4 against 3.
Baker picks up his 3rd foul, so Carl Baker will leave the game, and Alonzo Lane comes in. Well, the abandon, though, that the Razorbacks can play with because they're 12 deep. Early foul difficulty is not a stressful situation for Nolan Richardson.
And that's why they neutralized the fatigue factor today, having gotten in late last night, about midnight after the win over LSU. Just not much of a factor. This Arkansas team is in great condition, and as you say, Timmy, the substitution pattern by Nolan Richardson with the 10-12 players keeps them fresh and keeps them in that full court pressure defense.
Johnson with Prince on him. Out to Brandon Dean. A rainmaker.
That's incredible.
Oh, well, it's been flooding some in Louisiana. That's where Dean is from, and he brought down some icicles with that bomb. It's a 13-point Arkansas lead. He's 2 of 2 from downtown as Dean. He has 8.
That's one of those shots that you just kind of look up and say, it must be my day.
Parker. If they can get it in there, Joe, they can be very effective.
No question. And that's where they can do damage, because Parker at 6'8" is bigger and stronger than, maybe not stronger, but just taller than Alonzo Lane in the low block.
Well, that ended a 6.5-minute scoring drought from the floor. Pargo.
So you had to balance that time, Tim. He was squared, he leaned into the shot and knocked it in. Wasn't leaning back like he did the 2 previous misses.
Largest lead of the afternoon for the Razorbacks. Parker with power again.
Great jump hook right there, and Kentucky doing a nice job of going to him and putting pressure on Alonzo Lane.
It's rare that you make a reference to boxing and basketball. If you look at Jason Parker's upper body and really the quality he brings, strength, he looks like an early Sonny Liston. He really does. Dean rattles it home from the seat of his pants.
I tell you what, he loves this stage right here, the SEC tournament. Brandon Dean, what a ball game so far today.
Well, Arkansas had to come back last night. And Kentucky's going to have to do the same thing, it would appear, this afternoon.
Smart play there by Prince. He's complaining that he got pushed going out of bounds. He had to use the timeout.
I mean, this is amazing. As you said earlier, you know it's your day. The biorhythms are going Brandon Dean's way here.
Well, this shot right here is unbelievable. I mean, look how far out he is, and look how high he arches this ball. That is big-time string music, Timmy B.
In Music City, USA. (40-25), Arkansas, the 2nd seed out of the West, against top-seeded Kentucky from the East. The Western seed is very prominent today because Ole Miss managed to make its way into the championship game by virtue of their win over Florida. Congratulations to Rod Barnes. I'll tell you, for Ole Miss's program, the status of their program, and as good as they are, the opportunity to be nationally televised in the SEC Tournament Championship, I think, will raise their stock quite a bit, and it's deserving.
And it will raise the stock of Rod Barnes, who has led his team to, as you see, the bench scoring for Arkansas, but has led the Ole Miss Rebels to a school record 25 wins. Unbelievable year for Rod Barnes and the Ole Miss Rebels.
Coming out of the timeout, as usual for Tubby Smith, a quality offensive sequence. Bogans makes it 40-27.
Yeah, that's where you can really see the coaching done, is at timeouts. And right out of the timeout, as you mentioned, Tim, Tubby Smith with the excellent play to get to the lane and find an easy opportunity for the Wildcats on offense.
Daniels is back on the floor for Kentucky. Eric Daniels joining up with Smith, Prince, Parker, and Bogans. Shot clock under 10 for the first time in a long while for Arkansas. Tatum finds Edens. That's his spot. Too strong off the back iron this time. With 1 left on the clock, and Edens a steal. And I believe there may be a carry call here. Yep.
Yeah, Blake Edens stole the pass and then got called for a palming call.
And again, I love the call. It's one that should be made more often. He did make the steal, but he clearly palmed the ball. Timeout, 2:34 remaining in the half. Razorbacks by a baker's dozen. And the Razorbacks turning Kentucky over so much that they've only attempted 15 shots to Arkansas's 30. So they've doubled up the opportunities at the cup. UK's previous low on field goal attempts for a game was 45 against Indiana. Prince and Daniels keeping it alive. Loose ball, Teddy Gibson on the baseline. Doug Shaw's there, right on top of it. It belongs to Kentucky.
And you know, Tim, one of the things about the field goal attempts that you're talking about is that the game in Fayetteville back on February 25th, Kentucky, the reason they lost that game is they only shot about 38%. They took 75 shots. That's a lot of shots in a ball game.
Bogans puts that one down, hitting the three, just the second of the day for Kentucky. He has 12. Kentucky got open looks in that game, Joe. They haven't had that many open looks today.
Good point. The Arkansas defense has been there. Bogans and Prince got to bring the Cats back. The Bogans three gets the crowd into the game.
Kentucky crowd wanting a stop. They got it.
Well, you want your big play guys to step up when you need shots. Keith Bogans right there from downtown cuts the lead to 10 and gets the crowd into the game.
Building will explode if the Big Blue score here. Go Big Blue is the chant. Tatum trying to strip Daniels. Oh, the offhand. The ball, a timeout. 30-second timeout. Richardson recognizes the Big Blue run.
Now you see right there, good job by Eric Daniels to stay away from the strip from Tatum. And Daniels, the freshman, with a nice rising jumper in the lane to bring the Cats within 8 points. Kentucky on a 9-0 run the last 2:45. And one thing you always remember about Kentucky, they got that name across their chest. A lot of pride in the Wildcats.
Well, I know that you know that because every now and then I catch you on the Classic Network, you know?
That's right. Boy, I hate seeing that.
You've got good hair now, but you had great hair then. It's just Joe B wouldn't get out of your way. You were trying to see the game. That 83 matchup with Louisville in the regional finals, I remember so well. 40-32.
Kentucky zones with 12 on the shot clock.
Gibson from downtown. Suddenly the iron unkind to Arkansas.
Kentucky with numbers. Stepped on the sideline.
Yep. We'll go back the other way.
Well, that's a tough mistake right there. W. Smith upset with Keith Bogans for not being more alert in a situation like that.
You have to know where you are on the floor.
Yes.
10 turnovers for Kentucky. That's the difference in the game, as it usually is when the Razorbacks have a lead at halftime.
And remember, Kentucky handled the pressure in Fayetteville 2 weeks ago. Only 13 turnovers by Kentucky in that game, although they did not win.
That's a block. Parker coming over to give help, picking it up. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, Dave Neal, our host throughout the week, will bring you up to date on scores. A lot of upsets around the country overnight last night that has a tremendous impact on tomorrow's Selection Sunday. And Nolan Richardson so composed. You know, the one thing he did not have, he got last year. He won an NIT championship, won a National Junior College championship, won an NCAA title. At long last, he got that SEC tournament title. And when quizzed after the LSU game last night about playing Kentucky, he said, well, when I came into the SEC, I thought, you know what? I got to play Kentucky in the SEC tournament. That's what it's all about.
His resume is unbelievable, Tim, but you know, they have played Kentucky. Arkansas has 5 times in this tournament in either the semifinals or the finals. They're 0-for.
Yeah.
So this would be another notch on his belt if he could pull this one off today.
Well, their victory last year came, as you'll recall, in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
And the Razorbacks were seeded very, very high or low because they had the 15-15 record and had to win their way into the NCAA tournament. The announcers for today's game, selected and compensated by Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of the broadcast without the express permission of the Southeastern Conference and Jefferson Pilot Sports is prohibited. Last shot time for the Big Blue. Bogans. That'll do it. Arkansas's defense has been outstanding.
Outstanding is right. Alonzo Lane right there contested that shot by Keith Bogans and kept the Big Blue from getting inside of 10 at halftime.
You mentioned Dave Neal will be coming at you and bringing you up to speed on all that's going on in college basketball. The Southeastern Conference certainly dominant in that area. Let's go to Dave Baker standing by with Nolan Richardson. Dave.
Nolan, Kentucky able to make a little run at the end of the half, but I don't think you could have asked for a better start.
We shot the ball well. Our defense was played well that half. And, you know, Kentucky's a very good basketball team, so I expected not to be as far up as we were. And, of course, they're a good basketball team, so that doesn't surprise me.
All right, Coach, best of luck second half. Back to you, Timmy.
All right, Dave. The man in suits and boots is pretty pleased. Why not? Up double digits at the break. Dave Neal when we come back. Our exclusive coverage of the SEC tournament. 42-32 our score. Arkansas leading Kentucky, and they've really done a marvelous job in this game of dictating tempo, Joe. The Razorbacks have really had control from the outset.
Well, you know, they want to force the tempo, as you say, and the 42 points is an indication that they've done that. They forced the 10 Kentucky turnovers, but they've shot so well from three-point range, 6 out of 12 in the first half.
Just a few moments ago, Tubby Smith was making his way out, and Dave Baker had an opportunity to catch up with him, and here's their conversation.
Tubby, they got off to a great start. You guys got in perspective there at the end of the half a little bit.
Well, we just didn't guard the three-point shooters. We got to get out on them and contest shots better. We got to be a little more physical, a little more aggressive inside, because we got to fight fire with fire, obviously.
You got to find some ways to get your guys some more shots too.
Yeah, we do. We shot the ball pretty well. We just got to get more shots.
All right, thanks, Coach. Good luck second half.
Is that a subtle way, Joe, of saying, look, guys, we got to get tough? Dean and Gibson, and obviously the flow of this game has been such that we've got to toughen up. And Tubby Smith knows all about that.
Well, that's no question about it. And again, if you look at the way these two teams played in Fayetteville on February 25th, Kentucky owned the backboards, 52-37. They're not doing that here today.
Yeah.
It's almost even on the board.
Yeah,
so,
and Arkansas has never been known as a quality rebounding
exactly.
team.
So he's got to be questioning their heart and their toughness right now. Kentucky is the one that almost looks more tired than does Arkansas, who finished their game last night at 11:30.
Well, Kentucky is 2-5 this season when trailing at the half. The two wins came against Indiana, trailing 37-34 before winning 88-74, and then against Georgia in Athens, down 6, came back to win it by 15.
Yeah, and you want your big-time players to step up in situations like now. When coming out of the halftime and you're down, Tayshaun Prince is going to set the tone for his team with a little running jump shot.
Nice work by Smith.
And then your senior makes a big defensive play. Leadership is what it's about on a team game.
And trying to get it inside, they draw the foul on Satchel. We talked about it early. They can't match up with him down low.
No, he's too big. You see Blake Edens cannot handle at 6'5", 6'9", Tayshaun Prince, and that left-handed jump hook is becoming one of the patented shots in the SEC.
Parker with the pick. Pitch's three won't go. Parker on the offensive glass, and a reach-in foul. It'll go against Blake Edens. That's 3 on him.
You know, it was interesting to hear the comments of Tubby Smith at halftime with Dave Baker. He had kind of a calm about him, but inside and in that locker room behind closed doors, I'll guarantee you there was a tornado. And these players right now are starting out the second half like he got their attention.
Yes. He's old school when it comes to that. He gets in everybody's face, and Fitch has now quickly cut it to 6. Here comes the Kentucky faithful. Razorbacks have done well when spreading the floor. Brandon Dean at the top. Looking for an avenue. A bit out of control there. A tie-up between Satchel and Parker. The arrow to the Razorbacks. This is as close as it's been since 23-18, midway through the first half.
Well, David Hobbs, the assistant to Tubby Smith at Kentucky, told me last night that they have got to shut down Arkansas's penetration.
And there's the Wildcat pressure. There you see Hobbs, the former Alabama head coach, longtime assistant to Wimp Sanderson. Advantage Big Blue. in just 1 minute and 16 seconds of the second half. Hobbs has always been a defensive specialist. I know Whit Sanderson always gave him control of his defense, and he and Tubby were actually on J.D. Barnett's staff years ago at Virginia Commonwealth.
That's right. David Hobbs is a noted defensive coach, and again, as he told me last night, they've got to shut down the Arkansas penetration because that's how they get the three-point looks. And here to start the second half, you've seen a much more tenacious defense by the Kentucky Wildcats to get back in this game and get the crowd into the game. As you take a look at the tournament record, the active coaches in the SEC, we're looking at the two best right now.
Yeah, Orlando Tubby Smith has 16 siblings. Hey, toughness has never been a problem in the Smith family. Length of the floor, a mistake made there, and the Razorbacks get it right back.
Well, I like the idea. I like trying to throw over the top of the Arkansas press to loosen it up, but Tayshaun Prince just overshot the pass there.
The Razorbacks, by the way, have only committed 6 turnovers, but 2 in this half, and we're just over a minute deep. So obviously the Wildcat defensive pressure is here early on in the second half.
And they're zoning now, which they always do on out-of-bounds plays, a side out into the 2-3 zone, matching one on the basketball. Trying to stop penetration and the defense.
Make it 3 turnovers in a minute and a half. It's return to sender in Tennessee. One team turning it over early. Another getting it done in the second half.
Good double. Lane.
The iron unkind pulled down to Kentucky and Fitch.
Saul Smith kept it alive, the point guard of a defensive glass.
Not there for Tayshaun and a bit too deep.
Yeah, too far out right there. Not a good decision by the SEC Player of the Year.
Joe Johnson. Brandon Dean again. This time the Rainmaker is an air ball. And TJ Cleveland picks up the foul.
Keith Bogans with the defensive stop in the passing lane, and at 6'4", the muscle. He's going to finish that play. Determined look on his face. Nice stop there in defensive maneuver by Mr. Keith Bogans.
Dean trying to save it. Out of bounds to Arkansas. There you see it. 6-love run to open. 2 minutes and 20 seconds of this second half.
Arkansas denying the throw in. And again, the traps can come from anywhere on the floor. Kentucky's got to be alert.
Bogans in midair finds Parker. Lane can match strength when the ball's too low. That time he had difficulty just in getting the ball up in a shooting position.
Lane may have gotten away with a foul there, reaching in on Jason Parker. 2 muscle guys in that low post area.
Cleveland blows by Fitch and is fouled. 2 on him.
TJ Cleveland is a winner. Smart player. He goes right around Gerald Fitch, sees the pull-up opportunity, and gets the foul from Fitch. When TJ Cleveland's on the floor, again, he brings stability to the Arkansas team, a calmness, but one of the leaders in steals and a great assist man who can also make open jump shots.
Well, the Kentucky faithful felt there was a lot of leather there, but Cleveland with that quick first step got the advantage and manages to get to the line. Nolan Richardson will tell you he's the best on-ball defender he has. 44-38. Parker really trying to clear out against Lane. That's fun to watch off the ball, Joe, inside the paint.
No, it's just strength on strength is what that is.
Now he gets back down along the baseline, trying to spot up. Bogans with 10 on the shot, fouled by Johnson. And if you want toughness, Joe, I think that Bogans is a guy that really has to make a difference in the second half because he brings that physical style. He's sort of a power forward in a 2-guard's body.
That's a great analogy right there. He's got that strength and again, a little bit of a swagger about him that he knows he can play and he knows he's got the physical strength to make a difference for Kentucky on both ends.
30-second timeout taken in what is now a 6-point game. And yes, why the Wildcats are back in it? Well, they have answered Arkansas's intensity just as Tubby told Dave Baker they would.
Well, they got started with the offensive possession right off the top with Prince on the left-hand jumper and Fitch right there with a leaning baseline runner. And the defense, Tubby Smith, turned them up a notch with the intensity. Bogus finish off the defensive steal. Kentucky with that run to close it to 6 points here in the second half.
We're at the Southeastern Conference Tournament, 41st edition in Nashville, Tennessee for the third time. First time since 1991. This beautiful complex next door to the Cumberland River. It's been Music City madness for this 3-day period. And the ball gets beyond the press and up into the front row, into the gallery.
This is a great venue here, Tim. I would agree. The Gaylord Entertainment Center, downtown Nashville, which has been revitalized, a beautiful place, and I think the fans have really enjoyed this tournament.
And it also made it a tough ticket. And in an arena this size, a tremendous environment. Prince raises the iron, Cleveland the outlet. Saul Smith there to pick it off. Like Lynn Barney as a defensive back, he intercepted it. Nice pass to Parker, and a quick foul underneath. Teddy Gibson.
Saul Smith, as his mom looks on, watch the eyes of the passer. He saw Cleveland's eyes, just like a free safety in football, got the interception and pushed it the other way to give Kentucky the lane opportunity. Great pass by Prince to Parker.
I realize by using Lynn Barney, I'm showing my age, but
Barney.
Yeah, remember? Great Detroit
Ronnie
Lions.
Lott, you couldn't have thought of anybody in more of the modern era there, Mr.
Well, history. It's all about history,
all right,
Joe.
Just asking. Just asking. You know, the demographics of our audience. I mean.
Well, now you are in athletic administration.
That's right.
You've learned the term demographics.
That's it.
Remember, Detroit had those blue and silver colors, too, which would match Kentucky's.
Kentucky stays in the zone. Take that back. It's man-to-man. They were disguising it a little bit. They are man-on-man. Quick bump. Yeah, and you know, Saul Smith, to me, he acted like he didn't know what defense he was in. That's why I was confused, and he ran out and just committed an unforced foul on Gibson.
10-point game at the intermission. It's been carved in half in the first 4 minutes plus of the second. Filled to capacity in Nashville, Tennessee. Toughest basketball ticket in the Deep South. 5-point game. Who'll play Ole Miss? Well, Kentucky certainly has history on its side. During the tournaments, when it was played in the early era, Kentucky won 11 of the 19 tournaments. And of course, they brought the tournament back in 1979. And out of the 22, Kentucky's won 11. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Before they brought it back, the last tournament, 1952, was played in the old Armory in Louisville, and the reason I know that, my dad played in that tournament.
One of the SEC legends, honored earlier today during the first semifinal. Well, Arkansas struggling with shots on goal. They only have taken 3 shots in the first 4.5 minutes of this second half.
Look at this matchup. Cleveland, 6'1" guard on 6'9" Tayshaun Prince. And Cleveland trying to make the steal, as we've mentioned a couple of times. He's one of the tops in the league in that category. But Prince with great ball handling skills at 6'9".
Cleveland does pick up his third. But again, no quickness to go into the bench by Nolan Richardson. TJ Cleveland, such a smart defender. He knows we can keep him out there.
He switched back on Saul Smith now, although they are switching those off-ball screens.
Bogans. Fitch tries to keep it alive and does to Bogans. Nice work by Gerald Fitch. Bogans. There's the strength we talked about, but he can't finish. Teddy Gibson brings it out. Gibson. Screened off by Smith.
Oh.
And the foul goes against him.
Saul Smith was blocking out Teddy Gibson, and and they got tangled up on the block out. He had the inside position.
I think he felt that Saul may have rooted him out just a bit too much there, Joe.
That's a tough call, and Saul didn't like that one. That's his third. Let's watch this. Teddy Gibson's going to take this three and miss it. It's going to bounce out long, and watch the block out here by Saul Smith, but he kind of roots him out. I don't know that Teddy didn't maybe pull him down a little bit.
Right. Well, a quality flop to go along with the...
Correct.
That's a coaching term. They root your man out when boxing out.
Use the old backside. Coaches like to say, put a body on the guy.
Gennaro Pargo has checked in now. TJ Cleveland does get a blow with the third foul. Johnson.
Well, that's sweet right there. What a smooth, silky smooth player, Joe Johnson. Off the bounce from about 15 feet. Nothing but nylon.
First bucket of this half for Arkansas. 1 out of 5 from the floor. And Johnson showing you again that quality in-between game. There's a pick. Pargo starts it. Dean will finish.
Pargo's defense made the play. He went over and helped in the low post. Got the ball away. And Brandon Dean, the great athlete, can finish at the rim.
Lead back to 9. Fitch for 3.
Beautiful pass by Hawkins. Cliff Hawkins does what we talk about so much in basketball. Get it to the lane, draw the defenders, dish it out for the 3. Doesn't get any better than that one. Fitch with the finish.
From Dumfries, Virginia, Oak Hill. Boy, I tell you, he's well schooled as a freshman, Cliff Hawkins. Physically, you can tell he's ready for the second season to begin, and it already has. Conference tournament time is here. Johnson. Just inside the arc, that's a 2.
That's what he did last night. He just took over the game against LSU last night, put the Hogs on his back, knocked down those 4 threes in the second half.
Prince to Parker, and the contact.
Joe Johnson, watch this. Pull-up jumper. Man, that is so nice, isn't it? Beautiful.
He is a gazelle. You know, it's effortless when he's playing his best. And I do think that sometimes his unselfishness hurts him. And I think now he's beginning to understand that it's time for him to crank it up.
And I was talking to a longtime coach in the SEC just about some of the marquee players. Of course, Tayshaun Prince, the SEC Player of the Year. But when we started talking about Joe Johnson right there, number 24, he said, not even close. Best player in the league, hands down.
Right. Well, his skill level is tremendous. And I think now physically he's getting better after that summer injury. Fitch in traffic. Bogans with power. And the foul. And Jason Parker there to greet him. You can see that his leadership skills are admired by all of the young teammates on the floor. People like Hawkins and Parker. Nolan Richardson knows it's going to be tough in the second half.
Well, you got 2 wing players in Fitch and Bogans who are both 6'3", 6'4", athletic, strong, and they can get to the board, which gives you 4 guys on the offensive glass, and that makes it hard for Arkansas. And Kentucky again continues to overpower Arkansas on the backboard.
Baker has 4 fouls. It's Teddy Gibson though that's sitting with 3. Baker more of a defender. They need to rest one of their better shooters. So it's Pargo, Johnson, along with Alonzo Lane, TJ Cleveland, and Carl Baker still on the floor with his 4 fouls. Pargo. Not there. Tayshaun Prince has 7 rebounds. Clears that one for Kentucky. Parker, that's where you want it. He fails to finish this time. Pulled out by Fitch.
Great job by Lane right there inside defensively.
They'll try it again. Now the frustration really getting to the younger Parker. The body certainly belies his youth. On the other end, Johnson. A human pogo stick down there is Joe Johnson. Now Bogan's a 3-on-2. Splits the double team. Count it, and a foul.
Kentucky has turned up the defensive pressure. They got the strip, and this young man was not going to be denied. Keith Bogans, the streak through the trap against Alonzo Lane. Got the layup. There's the strip by Fitch. 3-on-2. 2. Bogan says, I'm going to take it myself, ladies and gentlemen.
18 points for Bogans, and Alonzo Lane gets the foul. He guaranteed a victory against Tennessee. From that moment on, he became a true leader on the floor for this team.
The defense by Kentucky has been tremendous here in the second half. Arkansas not finding easy looks at the goal.
There's the dump down to Lane. Stone collapsing in the double team, but Tayshaun Prince picks up the foul, his second. Well, Tayshaun knew he had help coming, yet he got the arm in there. He's talking to John Clockerty about it right now. There's the help.
Yeah, but he got there late. He's underneath the basket. The rule of thumb defensively is to get across the lane to make that help position. When you're under the goal and the guy takes it to the rim, the official is going to call a foul in most cases.
Well, an air ball at the free throw line, other than being dunked on, that's one of the more embarrassing things that can happen to a player. Arkansas was 12 of 13 at the stripe prior to the air ball, make it 13 of 14. So Lane answers the embarrassment by softly putting it through. Bogans again rides Lane into the lane. Stays with it. Stone. Loose ball to Bogans again.
Great job by Cleveland. That's a great job by T.J. Cleveland. Bogans is just having his way in the lane with his strength and power. And little T.J. Cleveland slides in there and grabs the ball and ties it up.
Great work by the officiating crew, too. There was no foul. Just outstanding defensive play. Like it or not.
He's 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6-11, 6-4-11 from the field. Keith Bogans having a great afternoon for the Wildcats.
A lot of his points, too, are second chance points. And Kentucky now leads Arkansas in putback opportunities, 13-6. Those rebounds now really adding up for Kentucky as Fitch knocks down a tray. He has a dozen, and a one-point game.
And that time the Bogans penetration and assist. Keith Bogans doing it all.
Kentucky crowd really trying to get into it. Kentucky's last lead was at 10-8. They could smell an opportunity at grabbing the lead right here with a defensive stop.
Tough shot.
Bogans brings it down. Outlet to Fitch. They shoot for the lead on this possession. The largest lead the Razorbacks had, 40-25 in the first half. Stone. Stick-to-itiveness and one.
They're playing with the personality of their coach. They will not be denied. Staying after it. The second effort, Marvin Stone, sophomore out of Huntsville, Alabama, with the big basket to foul. Look at the intensity right there. That's how the Wildcats are playing.
This young man started the first 8 games, then moved to the 6th man role prior to the Indiana game. He had a broken thumb on his shooting hand last year, you'll recall. But, you know, no pouting from this kid. Just tell me what I need to do, coach. And so far, it's put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Cleveland deflected by Prince.
Great rebound by Teddy Gibson. I tell you, the Kentucky defense is just relentless, tenacious right now. I mean, as good as I've seen by this team all year. I would have loved to have been in that locker room at halftime and heard the words of Tubby Smith as he got his guys turning it up.
Bogan's got that foul, his first. Dean off the penetration. The help and recover defense of the Wildcats has been outstanding. And Joe Johnson, it's time for him to answer. He has a dozen. Chances are he'll have to shoot about a dozen more in order to win this game.
Yeah, like Bogans for Kentucky, you want your big play guys to make big plays. Joe Johnson right there. Big one for Arkansas.
amazing how both sets of fans really know when to pull the strings.
How about the patience right there offensively in the post by Tayshaun Prince? He recognized Gibson at about 6'3" was on him and just used his size.
Nice defensive work by Hawkins, and it leads to a turnover. 55-53. Big Blue have not led by more than 2 all day. There's Cleveland with the pressure. And a timeout. Hawkins needed help. Made the wise choice.
We talked about the patience of Tayshaun Prince in the low block. Watch him. He's against a smaller guy, so he backs him in, uses his size, and the left-hand jump hook. Unstoppable against Teddy Gibson.
A lot of people believe now with Penn State's victory, there's a chance that they may move in. Fresno's upset loss and certainly the Atlantic 10 situation makes it a very difficult selection Sunday for a number of bubble teams like Connecticut, Villanova, and of course Georgia in the Southeastern Conference, exiting early courtesy LSU. Bogans, and it's a 5-point game, largest lead of the day for Kentucky. Gibson stays with it, and a smart move to put up the shot. As he's fouled, and he'll get 2.
The ball movement right there by Arkansas was absolutely beautiful. They moved it all the way around the horn. Joe Johnson with the reversal, and that allowed Gibson the opportunity to knife to the lane and draw that foul.
Well, the man in suits and boots is down to a black T-shirt. It's time to get busy. He's been answered by his good friend Tubby Smith.
Doesn't get any better than these 2 guys on the sideline. 495 career wins for Nolan Richardson, a national title in 21 years. Looks on the other side, Tubby Smith, I should say, a national title 10 years, 230 career wins.
It's incredible. Steal by Gibson. Off to the left hand, does not go. Stone the outlet. He has Hawkins with him. Over Johnson. Prince comes down with it. Would have counted had it gone. Satchel picks up the foul. Now Kentucky on a 33-15 run since the 3:30 mark in the first. Satchel has 4 now.
Well, on the shot by Hawkins. Watch Keith Bogans again. He's doing it all. Kept the ball alive for Tayshaun Prince. The foul by Larry Satchel, and that's been a tough play for Arkansas, losing Larry Satchel, the 3rd leading shot blocker in the league. They really need his size against the bigger Kentucky frontline players.
He's going to have a double-double. Look at that. He's 10 and 8, 11 and 8 now. Tayshaun playing like the player of the year.
What a turnaround.
But you had to know you were going to get their best shot in the second half.
No question. And there's no doubt, just listening to that interview by Dave Baker with Tubby Smith, just no doubt that he really got in there and shook this team at halftime and got their attention.
Cleveland off the back iron. Suddenly the Razorbacks really struggling. Must feel like there's a lid on top of the hoop.
Same thing last night. You know, Arkansas did it to LSU, down 9 at the half, just poured back in to win that one. And today here, Kentucky doing the same thing in return to Arkansas.
At one point, they were down 16, Arkansas, in the first half. Kentucky was down 15 in the first half of this game.
Hawkins is quick.
Yeah.
That's what he gives you that maybe Saul Smith doesn't. Just blazing quickness to the lane for the freshman, Cliff Hawkins.
Timeout, Arkansas. 62-55. Two proud programs. No fan base any better in the Deep South than the Arkansas-Kentucky fan base when it comes to basketball. Said it many times. If you want to enjoy an environment, you go to Rupp Arena, the expectation level is strong. In Arkansas, it's the biggest deal in the entire state. And you look at the numbers, tournament victories, tournament wins, opportunities. Remember, Arkansas only in this league since '92. But I think even the fans of other basketball programs in this league respect what Arkansas did, because at long last someone could challenge Kentucky. And it was the Razorbacks when they called the Hogs in '92 the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center in that SEC tournament.
Yeah, who will ever forget that? And the rivalry started in 1992. These two programs now are 1-2 in tournament victories. Tubby Smith and Nolan Richardson also numbers 1 and 2 in SEC tournament play. How about the '95 final? You remember that at the Georgia Dome?
One of the greatest games ever played.
Overtime, 95-93, 30,000, an SEC tournament record that day. Rick Pitino against Nolan Richardson was a classic.
Yep. In that '92 tournament that Arkansas appeared in, the Alabama-Arkansas semifinal, another one of the greatest games ever played that Alabama managed to win. There were 6 NBA first-rounders on the floor that day. So much history and tradition in this tournament. A big sequence here for Arkansas. Lane over Stone, too strong.
Yeah, too small. Alonzo Wayne is a bull in there, but he's just too short at only about 6'5". Stone is 6'10". Just tough to get it over him.
Prince with the ball fake. Too strong. And over the back, Stone. It's an easy one to call. Right over Pargo.
Yeah, it's a break for Arkansas, but again, look at Pargo at 6'1", trying to block out 6'10" Marvin Stone. The size factor is really causing a lot of problems for Arkansas. They had their way in the first half with the quickness and speed, but Kentucky has matched that and used their size to their advantage here in the second half.
Pargo at the line. And Gennaro, if they're talking about Joe Johnson taking over last night, and the question was, at the beginning of the game, we talked about it, what must Arkansas do? Well, Joe Johnson would have to get help. If he's going to get it, the likely candidates, Dean, he delivered in the first half. Gibson or Pargo maybe in the second half.
Well, they've got their best shooting team on the floor right now, does Arkansas. And Pargo, Gibson, Johnson, Dean, and Carl Baker, an excellent shooter as well. The SEC is the only league in the country that has 3 coaches who have won a national championship. I've coached the two guys here today, Tubby Smith and Nolan Richardson, and Jim Herrick at Georgia.
And pass by Prince, picked off by Pargo. Arkansas has 1 field goal in the last 7.5 minutes, and none in 4 minutes plus.
And Kentucky's done a better job this half of shutting down the penetration by Arkansas.
Good place to start. Funnel it through this fella.
Over Prince. That's a great matchup. Johnson and Prince. Johnson won the war there in the low post.
You see the post-up capability. He can face you, drive, and, of course, shoot the 3. It's all there.
Yeah, they're both point forwards. I mean, they can play the point position, go down low and score, rebound, run the break, you name it. Both these guys can do it. Let's see what happens the other way.
Yeah. Mano a mano. Preseason and season. He got game, I got game. Five-point lead. 5:45 remaining. Gibson. And we talked about it. The help will have to be there, and Pargo over the back. Involved with Baker. Lots of contact by Gennaro Pargo, but one of these complementary players, Joe, for Arkansas must make some plays to help Joe Johnson. You see Blake Edens one of the sharpshooters, but Pargo's on the floor. They'll need him, Brandon Dean, or Gibson.
Well, they're struggling offensively, there's no question, but you've got to give all the credit to Tubby Smith's defense. They have turned it up to a new level here in the second half, and points in the paint, we've talked about their rebounding, second chance points, 16 second chance points in the second half. I mean, that's a lot for an entire game, much less a half, and what that shows you is the effort and the energy that Tubby Smith has his team playing with here after the break.
Fitch gets one of the two. Razorbacks 0 for 6 from three-point range in the second half, and Nolan Richardson admitted that they really shot the ball well, 6 of 12 from downtown in the first. Joe Johnson from point-blank range. He has 16, keeping the Razorbacks in it.
Give credit to Gennaro Pargo. That's a great feed on the baseline side to give Joe Johnson the power move. Johnson 8 of 14 from the field, trying to step up and make the plays to get the Hogs back in this one, down 4.
Well, they can't set up their pressure unless they make shots. And at long last, Joe Johnson's been able to take a few.
That's a great point.
And the bump by Johnson with a body on Tayshaun Prince.
Well, we saw Johnson offensively posting up on Fitch. This is a great pass there by Pargo. No help behind. And the flush by Mr. Joe Johnson at a Little Rock, Arkansas, just a sophomore.
His game has been in the stars the second half of the season. He really turned it up. There's his mom, Diane. Ever since his dad came to see him play against Tennessee, the insecure Pisces has been playing his best basketball. And they would tell you that his greatest asset has been his insecurity. All true in so many young men in intercollegiate athletics. 66-61.
Arkansas is running a spread motion. They're trying to get Johnson open in the post.
Stone pulls it down. Pargo felt he had been hacked.
Yeah, but he took it into 4 white shirts. That's not a good decision there by Pargo.
Bogan's baseline. Brandon Dean gave it up and paid a price.
And shook his head afterwards, disgusted with his defense.
Big sequence here for Arkansas, down 7. And Bogans bails them out with a foul. Third against Bogans.
Now right here you see the no call against the 5 white shirts. Great team defensive help there on Pargo. And then Bogans right around Carl Baker. Laid it in. We thought it was Brandon Dean. Brandon was shaking his head about Carl Baker's defense.
Apologies to our friend from Louisiana, Brandon Dean. Yep. 17 on the day for Johnson. You see the number 17 today, just right on course with his numbers and his unselfishness. We talk about being more assertive, but Joe Johnson is his total game is about making others better. Nolan Richardson very quick to point that out. And this is a team that ignites itself through its defense rather than its offense. And they're very proud of the way Joe Johnson plays on the defensive side.
And so much of the game of basketball is savvy, intelligence, knowing where to be, when to be, making decisions on the floor. Joe Johnson very intelligent.
Stone fouled by Dean. And it counts. The Big Blue really using their size and their strength, Joe, and to take this game over.
And the size against the trap. Watch the trap. He sees right over it and goes 6'9" to 6'10". Marvin Stone showing the emotion that I'm sure Tubby Smith showed in the locker room at halftime to turn the Cats up and give him this big lead.
Well, it's as big as it's been, that's for sure. Donna loves it, as do the rest in the Bluegrass. SEC tournament semifinals. Doesn't get better, does it? Kentucky outdueling Arkansas in the paint, 28-16. And in this half, 14-6. They were down 10 at the break. I think Tubby Smith gave us a clue in that interview with Dave Baker. It was a telling interview, actually. You see the numbers, and he clearly got the attention of his team. And what's the old axiom? A team that presses doesn't like to be pressed.
Right.
And that's clearly what happened in the second half. Still plenty of time. Baker. Too strong. And another rebound for Bogans. He has 8. That play by Stone, Joe, made a moment ago, could be a real difference maker.
Well, it's given Kentucky their biggest lead, and we'll have to see, but maybe the difference in breaking this game open for the Big Blue.
Prince. Bogans.
That's unbelievable.
Just outworking the Razorbacks. Stone, the finger roll.
That's the answer. They have simply outworked Arkansas in this second half. Just more hustle, energy, defense, and on the backboards.
I tell you, Bogans' nastiness, his swagger, really has carried through to the rest of the young Wildcats. Cleveland raises the iron, and the Razorbacks are running out of chances now with 2:30 and counting.
Kentucky won't be in any hurry right now. 10-point lead at the 2:20 mark.
There's a quick pick.
Stripped by Johnson there. Great play.
Razorbacks in a must-score mode here. One of those times when you believe Joe Johnson's got to get a touch. He wants it on the low block.
Good double. Yeah.
Dean! Oh! And a quick timeout. Don't turn out the lights just yet, Coach.
JP Sports exclusive coverage of the 2001 SEC basketball tournament is presented by Dr. Pepper and has been brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper makes the world taste better. By your friends at Citgo. Citgo, we know you. By Reebok. Experience the fit of the Reebok pump only at Foot Locker. Are you pumped? And by Advance Auto Parts. The best part is our people.
In the second half, Kentucky has a 48-26 advantage. The last 20 minutes of this game, they have been the dominant team. But it's still a 7-point game, and with the frenetic play that Arkansas is capable of, it's not done yet. Duke, late in the game now, leading Maryland. Kansas over Oklahoma, spreading it out to a 10-point lead in Kansas City at the Big 12 tournament. Reach-in foul against Tatum. They need to stop the clock and hope for a few misses. I think Nolan would have liked a play on there and didn't get it. Prince will get to the stripe.
They missed that guy right there, Larry Satchel. He's not been a factor at all today, and he has played so well down the stretch for Arkansas in their run here to become one of the seeded teams in the SEC tournament. And looks like we'll be a team in the NCAA tournament tomorrow night.
Yeah, I would suggest to you that they're somewhere in that 6th seed area.
Right.
What do you think about Florida after losing today?
I think they're going to be a 2 seed.
I'd say a 3. Ole Miss, if they win the tournament, maybe a 2.
Yes. Ole Miss is clearly a 3, maybe a 2 if they win tomorrow.
They were probably hoping for an Arkansas victory today. They really owned the series of late. Got a number of Arkansans on that team that play a little harder, it seems, for Rod Barnes. If there's a possibility of that. Cleveland can't hit, and then the quick foul.
Well, Ole Miss is undefeated against both these teams. They beat Arkansas twice, beat Kentucky once in Oxford.
Nolan Richardson talking to Mike Anderson as Cleveland picks up his 4th foul. And Prince is 7 of 8 at the line. We'll get back to the stripe. A 15-point lead. And, you know, going back to Satchel for a moment, You know, it's one thing to be a great shot blocker and play with abandon because you've got 12 players you can go to, but there are times when he fouls too quickly.
Yes.
You know, you can exercise a little better judgment sometimes when you've got that kind of physical nature to your game.
Well, it's the thing we talked about, the savvy of the game that Joe Johnson has so much of. Larry Satchel is learning how to play the game, and Nolan Richardson working with him. He's a tremendous physical force for Arkansas, has played well down the stretch, but still has a lot to learn about how to play and stay out of foul trouble.
Tatum for three. Now they set up the press. Tayshaun Prince looks to go up top. Running two at them. Here's Stone in trouble. And he gets it to Tayshaun. Now, Arkansas, you think would have to foul.
This is where Jason Parker is out of the lineup too, Tim, which you mentioned, because of his lack of free throw shooting ability.
Cleveland has to foul. It is his fifth, so that'll do it for him. Well, their designated defender leaves, and Gennaro Pargo will check in. Take a look at our Ice House players of the game. Joe Johnson, 18 and 8. That's his average. Bogans nearing a double-double, 23 and 9. He'll likely get it before the day is done. Saul Smith at the stripe. Bogans has been a difference maker, but there are a lot of young men in this tournament that you come in contact with, Joe, and you really admire, and Saul Smith is one of the ones that I truly admire.
I would echo that as well. He's one of my favorite players in the league also.
Johnson, a three, and the timeout. 79-72 with 44 ticks remaining, and Joe is now up to 21 on the afternoon. The Razorbacks gamely going after a victory, although they're down 7. As we look at our all-tell play of the game.
Well, you know it's going to be a play that is involved with Mr. Keith Bogans, who's the star of the game. Watch the rebound. Big-time offensive rebound. Kicks it outside. Saul Smith, great vision. Marvin Stone with the finish. That put the Wildcats up by 10, Timmy, and broke this game open here late in the ball game. Dave Burchett.
Well, you know, great directors find those kinds of shots.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what sets him apart.
That guy, I believe, has a full chapter in Dave Burchett's new book.
Spielberg would be proud of that shot. Tatum looking to force the turnover. I would like to thank everyone with the Jefferson Pilot Sports crew. It's been a marvelous year as usual. Scott Snyder, our producer. Our version of Spielberg. Todd Menhennet, always helpful. Roger Roebuck on the other end. Fitz going over the top, just as you ordered, Joe.
Yeah, I love that. You got to do that every now and then against that kind of full court pressure.
15, that's a career high for Gerald Fitz. So he made the strong contribution to go along with Bogans and Tayshaun Prince. Tatum picked up the foul, his third. Going back to that, Roger Roebuck, of course, and Jimmy Moore, producer and director in the afternoon with Larry Conley and Tom Hammond. And Dave Neal, outstanding work as our host, and Dave Baker roaming the sidelines. A number of stories to cover, particularly with all the bumps and bruises, injuries through the course of this tournament. Going back to Florida for a moment, you know, with Teddy Dupay's back problem and Brent Wright in his situation, it may be good for Billy Donovan that he gets an extra day's rest going into the NCAA tournament.
I would definitely agree with that. Of course, Florida did not want to lose today, and they fought hard against a very good Ole Miss team, but the extra day could help them, especially if they have to play next Thursday.
People forget that Butler almost took them out in the opening round last year after a tough SEC tournament. They went on, of course, to the finals and lost to Michigan State. Tatum hits another three. 7-point game. Smith. Boy, Gomez got a hand on that, but the follow was there.
By guess who?
Yeah. Bogans has been all over the place. Perpetual motion all the way through the game. Johnson for three. 24 for him in a 2-possession game. Down 6, they must foul. Amazing, isn't it? As in control as Kentucky is, there's still a chance for Arkansas.
When you have to rapid fire late in the game when you're down, it's amazing how many times you can knock down three-point shots when the game is maybe over. Although if Gerald Fitch can't make these free throws here, we could still have an Arkansas comeback. That ought to do it right there.
Suddenly it's a three-possession game. Arkansas has 5 threes in the last 3 minutes. They were 0 for 17. The first 17 minutes of this half, they couldn't knock down a three. Tatum takes it the easy way and puts a dimple in the backboard with that one. Bogans on the seat of his pants clears it to Prince. And a little time for a Kentucky coronation here with .6 left.
Great win for the Big Blue here today against a gallant Arkansas team who has had a great second half of the SEC season. They'll be in the NCAA tournament along with 5 other schools, maybe 6 if Georgia can get in at 16 and 14.
I thought Georgia was in great shape until the events of last night. Mom still says, son, you got to knock down those free throws. By the way, the Kentucky Wildcats are in the finals again. How about that?
Stop the presses.
Donna, kissing babies. Well, you could run for office now. You're in the SEC tournament finals. 87-78. Wildcats come from 15 down in the first half, trailing by 10 at halftime, and put on the press against a team that generally pushes it